sports agent, general manager, athletic director, and social media manager for a pro team. Those are some notable jobs in the sports industry. Do a process like this, and you're going to start to figure out where your perfect match is.
This is the Workin' Sports Podcast.
Today, we're doing our Monday routine, which means we are answering a fan question. And today's fan question comes in from Clint in Minnesota.
Hi, Brian. I'm a sophomore in college and have an assignment in school to outline my career aspirations as part of our career preparedness program. I want to work in sports because I love it, but I have no clarity after that. Can you help me understand some notable sports management jobs and how I figure out where I fit in?
Okay, Clint, it is a great and fair question, but I'm going to tell you, I get this question weekly. I love sports. Where do I fit in? What should I look at? What should I study? What should I do? I'm all for these questions, and I want to provide as much help and guidance as I can, but I want to also remind you in this overarching principle, this is a personal choice. You have to do the work to figure out where you fit. I can't tell you where your perfect match is because I don't know your personality. I don't know what excites you. I don't know anything.
I know nothing.
And even if you told me, this still has to be a journey that you go on. So what I'd like to do in this conversation is to give a little bit of a background into notable sports management jobs, but also a process you can use to start to wean into and figure out for yourself what feels like the right match. I tend to lean on process a lot because I think everybody can do it and it will get you to an end result that you can be happy with. So anecdotally, I speak in probably 30 to 40 classrooms across the country every semester.
This whole class is going to feel my wrath.
Big schools like Ohio State, University of Florida, small schools like Finlay and Malone University and University of Trine, all the different types. And one of the questions I like to ask the students all the time to engage with them is, what are those careers that interest you the most? What are you guys most drawn towards? And anecdotally, again, it's not like I'm doing a full-on data research report, but these are the four that I tend to hear the most. Sports agent, general manager,
and how come none of his teammates went to his birthday party?
Athletic director, and social media manager for a pro team. Now, to give a little bit of perspective here, all of those, I probably could have guessed without asking anybody because they all sound like the really cool side of sports. I get it. You get some broadcasters and reporters in there too. I grew up, I wanted to be on television. I just watched ESPN and the reporters and the anchors and was like, that's it. That's what I want because that's what's bright and in your focus. But those aren't the right matches for everybody. And even those people that think like this is what I want to do, all of those paths are really difficult. GM of a pro team, there's, 30 of them per sport on average. There's not a lot of those jobs, and it's a long slog to get there. Sports agents, it takes a lot to start making money there. You're doing a lot of investing in people and spending your money. It's like real estate. Like you don't get money until the deal is closed, much like real estate with an agent. You might be putting a lot of money into a prospect, and until they sign a contract, you don't get a percentage of it, and then they move on to somebody else. It's very relationship built. It can be really a difficult road. There's so many more agents than there are people, actual clients out there. Actually, athletic director is within reach. Those are great jobs if you want to work in college athletics. And I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from any of these titles. Social media manager, people look at that and they say creative, fun, go to games, take pictures, say funny things on social media. It's a lot more than that, but I can understand somebody that doesn't fully recognize the entire scope of our industry to say, those are the areas that interest me the most. So, hey, Clint, those are some notable jobs in the sports industry, but it does not mean that they're the right fit for you. And it also doesn't mean it's the right career path in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot more to it than that. And I think here's a place where people tend to get, they funnel their minds into those type of big buckets. They think of sports and they're like, reporters, anchors, ESPN, sports agent, GM, all those things I just said. Sports world is a lot wider than that. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more nuance to it. And there's so many different type of opportunities. So how do we broaden your lens? What's the process we can start to put together so that you, Clint, a sophomore in college, can say, I love sports, but I want to dig into that and figure out where my right path is. The system that I try to give people goes somewhat like this. Discovery is difficult. Internships and experience will help you formulate your point of view. But those are also big time commitments, and 6 months at a time, 4 months at a time, and you only get a limited amount of those attempts. You do 3 internships while in college and you're like, wait, I didn't like any of those things. What do I do now? Right? So you need to be able to get volume up a little bit and start to really see all the things that are out there rather than just taking 3 shots at it and see if it's the right match. So my suggestion is this. You go to a site like ours, workinsports.com, we have 25,000 jobs available in the sports industry. But instead of searching for, I want to be a sports agent, so I'm going to search for sports agent jobs or GM or athletic director type jobs, I want you to use a term that is associated with entry-level jobs. So a term like coordinator or a term like assistant or a term like associate. Those are terms that usually get associated with an entry-level role. So every one of the different facets of our industry will be represented by an entry-level coordinator, social media coordinator, athletics coordinator, broadcasting coordinator, account coordinator, human resources coordinator, facilities coordinator. I can keep going and adding insert job title with coordinator on it, but I think you get the idea. Now I want you to actually read the job descriptions because the job ad or the job description is basically telling you what the requirements of this role are. This is best to do when you're a freshman, sophomore, junior. Because you're not necessarily applying these jobs, you're doing research. So you go and you search coordinator and you see, oh, social media coordinator, let's read that one. That sounds interesting. Broadcasting coordinator, let's read that one. That sounds interesting. Marketing coordinator. And you're reading these things. Email marketing coordinator, it gets more specific. Advertising coordinator. Obviously, I can keep going. The point is, though, if you look at one of these entry-level jobs and you read it and you're like, that sounds interesting. Now, don't settle. You're not done yet. Now you go a layer deeper. So let's use a social media example. Look at social media manager. Look at director of digital media. Look at VP of content. Start to look at the progression that you would see from a role like this. Social media coordinator, manager of social media, director of social media, VP of social media. I mean, keep it simple. Like sometimes you just do it that way, but usually you'll start to, in this realm, get into digital media and get a little bit wider of the domain that somebody is managing. My point in this is like, I see a lot of people that step out into the sports industry. They do a job, they get promoted and they're like, I don't really like this anymore. So they didn't do the full depth of the research to figure out a career path that sounds interesting to them. They did part of the work. Like that first job sounds interesting. I'll start there. I'll get my foot in the door and then I'll figure things out. That can work. It doesn't always. I would rather have you go in with a more detailed plan. So do that research and understanding that. Use a tool like LinkedIn and find somebody who's a social media, like a VP of social media or like VP of digital media, and start to look through their steps in their career because it'll show you their resume is out there. How did they get there? Okay, now I can investigate. So you can forward engineer this, search for coordinator, look through all those manager, director, VP type roles that are still related to social media, but you can also reverse engineer it and go find somebody that's at the top and figure out all the steps that they took to get there. And you start to build yourself a vision for your career. You start to build yourself what your ideal career path could be. Does it still interest you? Do those tasks and things you could be doing 5, 7, 10 years from now still sound like it could be fun for you? If it does, then this is the right area you want to lean into. Now you go do an internship in that realm. You go do a social media internship or an internship that allows you to do work within social media. So let's use an athletic director type example. You might go find a job in the athletics department that is a marketing coordinator for the athletics department or some sort of a coordinator type role. And you start to look at the pathway. Associate AD, senior associate AD, assistant athletic director. Start to look at these titles and figure out, does this sound interesting to me? What would be my path? How am I going to get there to that ultimate goal? If every step in it sounds interesting, not perfect, but interesting, then you can start to say, okay, I want to do an internship in an athletic department and see if this really feels right. So now you're taking your few internship opportunities, because there's only so much time when you're in college, and you're making them as productive as possible to find out the right career path for you, because this is a very individual choice. Now, listen, you're going to do an internship and you're not going to like it. And you're going to be like, I got to start this process all over again. That's okay. You're learning. Better now than in 5 years when you're graduated and you're working and you're like, this is miserable. I don't like this. I've talked to a lot of people that have thought they wanted something, gone on an internship, didn't like it. And they're like panicking. No, that's information you need to know. We're getting you to career clarity. And as I shared in last week's Monday podcast, I kind of spoke about a funnel kind of process. As a freshman, you may have this wide open lens to the opportunities in the industry. By the time you get to a senior, it's got to start to narrow down. Because during all this process of you investigating career paths, really figuring out those job titles that interest you, and then doing an internship to kind of layer in and see if that experience is right for you, at the same time, you're going to be developing the skills that are necessary for that job. So you're going to be making decisions based on the demands of those roles. So now you have the full suite of talent by the time you graduate as a senior. You know your vision for what you want for yourself. You've looked at the entire career path. You have done internships that are aligned with that career path, and you've developed a skill set that is in demand for that career path. Now you're ready to get out there and really start to make a difference. So, Clint, I can't tell you the perfect job for you. Nobody can. You have to do that work to get there. There are lots of notable jobs in the sports industry that a sports management degree can prepare you for. There's athletic trainers. That's more of kinesiology, but still, nonetheless, there's athletic trainers, there's facility management, there's all kinds of opportunities out there. There's operations, there's sales, there's partnerships, there's sponsorships. It all is out there for you. Do a process like this, and you're going to start to figure out where your perfect match is, and you'll be much better off. All right. Thanks for the question, Clint. Please continue to send all your questions in, everybody. Email me at bclapp@workinsports. Message me on at workinsports. You can DM us on Twitter. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Whatever you want. I'm there. Ask me your questions. I'm here to help.